Hey YouTube, got a few errands to run, got the camera running. Let's see what we get. All right, coming up on our stoplight right turn. Oh no, it's doing a left turn, sorry. Doing an unprotected left turn, across 3 lanes of traffic. There's the stop line. We definitely need to creep forward. Those of you that have watched these videos know this turn quite well. See, that projected path is about right. It can't see yet. It needs to slowly go out there. Yeah, they couldn't see. Still makes me nervous. All right, we'll re-engage. This drive is going to have a little bit of highway on-ramp and off-ramp. I've gotten a few comments recently looking for that type of interaction. A few comments from yesterday using those suicide middle lanes. I thought that was interesting. A lot of good feedback. I appreciate the interaction. Let's take a look at this intersection here on the visualization. There's a good view to the right. There's a railroad track right here. Can't quite see it from the camera view, but there's a railroad track. That median's drawn correctly. It's interesting how these cars behind me now are being rendered in the production format. I noticed that yesterday too, and I wonder why it's doing that. I'm gonna click the camera on real quick. So that's a truck behind me that's being rendered that way. I'm gonna have to pay attention to that a little bit more. There's that bus again. Rendered it nice and large. All right, here we go. Notice this weave a little bit. These turn lanes, that's the third one in a row, and it's just, it does a slight weave over into the turn lane, and then it kind of comes back to the center. Let's see if it does it on this next one coming up here on the left. I'm proceeding straight, but a turn lane opens up, and the car weaves just a smidge left and then recenters. It's almost like that lane logic of staying in the center lane. When it loses its left edge, it kind of goes over, then it recorrects. Seems like if we know we're going straight, I ought to just stick with a projected path, but that's definitely not what it's doing. It's a subtle thing. I'm not sure if you can see it on the visualization or not. When it does it, I'll try to mention it a few more times. Here comes another turn lane opening up to the left. Let me see if it does it here. Nope, it didn't do it that time. All right, keep going, keep going, keep going. Don't stop. A little bit cautious there. I'm not sure what it was thinking. We were going straight, but it kind of acted like those cars to the left of me that were turning left was the right thing to do. It's kind of parking in this left lane a little bit right now. It's annoying the cars behind me a little bit. Okay, I'm not sure why it braked there. There was no reason to brake. Both that light and this light were green. You can see these cars kind of going around me a little bit, or a little bit annoyed. But I'm gonna stay the course so that the lane changes for the ultimate interchange up here are captured. Got some roadkill up here in the center lane. I don't think it's going to be rendered. Nope, I didn't see anything there. Starting to work its way over for the, okay, don't know why it stopped a little bit there. There was a car right behind me as it did that lane change, and it started slowing down, and all right, it fought its way over for that second lane change. I think it was slowing down so it could get itself into the lane change it knew it needed to do. That car that's just coming into view up here was on my tail though, and as it slowed down in order to make the lane change, it was a little unnatural, and I don't know if you heard, but that car was honking. Okay, now we're getting over in this right lane here for a cloverleaf intersection to join the interstate. Good speed management, a little bit slower than I probably would be, but you know, 30 miles an hour on a tight cloverleaf like this is fine. There's a couple cars right behind me that are probably thinking I should be going about 45, but all right, it's still slowing down. I'm gonna let it accelerate on its own. All right, it's clear to the left if it wants to lane change, and now we're navigating autopilot. Still don't have a blinker. It's just going to do this merge without a blinker, isn't it? Yeah. I don't like it when it does that. It just sort of assumes both lanes are its own when it does these merges. Now I've got traffic merging up here from the right that sometimes comes over into this left lane, but so when we transition from city streets to the highway, that logic I think shifts over a little bit. So it didn't use a blinker to come over, and it just sort of treated the merge lane like it owned both of them. That definitely needs to be worked on. Okay, this is a good example. We got an upcoming lane change to get off the interstate. It wants to do a lane change. It's talking about it. Got 0.8 miles, but we're still on the bridge, and I've got a solid white line. A few of my videos before have talked about solid white lines. It won't cross them unless, well, I haven't seen many situations where it likes to cross them. So now we've gone from solid white to a dashed, and immediately it wants to change lanes. And it changed lanes right in front of a motorcycle, which I'm sure you're probably going to see come around me on the outside here in a second. That wasn't a good example, but I don't think he's very happy. It wasn't unsafe, but the motorcycle was definitely accelerating in a way that motorcycles do. Okay, we've transitioned back to city streets just as we joined the off ramp. All right, it wants to go right, kind of a jerky right, but it did it. Right, and now this is kind of a merge scenario here that it has its own lane, so it can kind of proceed like it wants, and then it's got a double dash line on the left to do a left lane change. So it's a double dash line now, and there goes our friend the motorcycle. Okay, so it did a good job using that double dash line to get over. It needs to get over again, and it did. You can see the deviation there. And it needs to get over again. All right, nice job. And I think it needs to get in this turn lane here. It needs to be in that turn lane. Okay. Yesterday, okay, so it is not in the turn lane. I cannot let it turn here, and look at what it's doing. There's a double turn lane here. Let me see if I can show everybody here. I need to be in either of these two lanes, and my projected path is trying to figure out what to do. I'm gonna let it go, but as soon as it starts to turn left, I'm gonna have to take over if that's what it does. Here we are, we got stuck. Now, I would love for the car to figure out that it can't do what it wants to do. It's got its blinker on, so I'm sort of announcing to everybody behind me that I intend on turning to the left. All right, I'm gonna go, let it go. All right, I had to hit the accelerator, and it tried to turn illegally there. Okay, as soon as the blue comes back here, I'm gonna re-engage. And now it needs to get into this turn lane here. Nope, it's not gonna make that either. Is it gonna make it? Okay, it did. Okay, so now it's got a trick. Let's see here. It's kind of in one of these unprotected scenarios here. I think it's drawing it perfectly here. That's exactly what it looks like. I got a median to my left, a kind of a turn median in front of me, and it can go across the street and into this interchange there, and there is a median, so it's got a perfect view. I've got a car behind me here that is probably going to get annoyed by me letting it go this far. There's a gap coming. I'm gonna have to encourage it to go through this gap if it doesn't try. Waiting for cross traffic as the alert. All right, I'm tapping the accelerator. See if it'll continue. All right. Once I tapped the accelerator, it continued, but I don't think it was gonna make that decision on its own at that point. That was a good one. I'm glad we did that. All right, that car was the one that was behind me that was a little annoyed, so I think that's why he just cut me off. There's a fine line between testing and unsafe driving and annoying fellow drivers and not creating road rage. I'm just gonna let this route find its way through this parking lot just out of curiosity. Now there's no one behind me. In general, this is actually a pretty good route through this parking lot. There is a stop sign here. Okay, waiting for our turn. Okay, it's on the wrong side of the intersection, so it said waiting for our turn, but it didn't make it to that stop sign. All right, that was interesting. I'll reset the destination after I run my errand, and we'll get some more footage. GoPro. Okay, we're off. I'm gonna try to let it navigate out of the parking lot. Waiting for our turn. It's a four-way. It's marked as a four-way. There is nobody else going. It's our turn. I'm just gonna sit here for a second and see if it'll decide to go. Okay, there it decided. Now we've got a stop sign, right turn into 2 lanes of oncoming traffic from the left. A little bit of an obstruction here. Try to turn it to the side a little bit. Okay, it can't see from here, as I can't even see, so we need to creep. It says waiting on our turn. There's some cross traffic here that's coming across the other way. We're not going there, but I'm not sure what the car is going to do. So it's painting these cars, which are definitely the traffic it needs to be concerned with, but it's not creeping yet. And as you can see this distance here, it needs to creep up a little bit. The fact it says waiting for our turn makes me wonder if these cars across the way are influencing its creep at all. All right, nope, here we go. It's starting to creep a little bit. Still nobody behind me, so I can sit here for a few more seconds. Okay, those cars across the way decided that there was enough room to go, so they started going. Now it's creeping a little bit more. Okay, I can start to see. All right, it is not clear. Yeah, these cars are coming pretty quickly. A very large gap might be required. Okay, I think we have a large gap, so if it goes now, I'm gonna let it. Go, go, go. Okay, it stopped in the road. I don't know why it stopped. All right, I've re-engaged it. It tried. It tried hard on that one. It needed, once it turned into the road, it needs to make a quick determination of a commit. All right, we've got a series of lane changes. I need to be all the way over here in this left lane prior to this highway interchange coming up. So the traffic is pretty dense. It's gonna have to fight its way over. We'll see how it does. It does show a solid white line right next to me. That it's going to turn dashed white after this interchange, so it really can't even try to change lanes legally until it gets up to the dashed white line. Okay, it's got the lane change intent there. No blinker. Blinker just came on. It's slowing down for the car in front of us and behind. All right, it needs to go. An aggressive scenario, lane changing in traffic. I'm going to try to re-engage it since it has a little bit more time to make the next lane change. Okay, it can stay in this lane if it wants, so, but it wants to go over one more. All right, now that time it crossed a solid white line and kind of in the middle of an intersection. So it's in the correct lane. So I was incorrect back there saying it could stay in the lane. It knew it needed to get over one more, and it knew it enough to cross a solid white line to do it. All right, now we're going through a double left-hand turn. So both lanes are turning at the same time. It does have a dashed white line to follow. It's following it. Okay, it's doing good. Now I'm in a merge. It needs to get over to the left. There, it is clear behind me. It needs a blinker though. Okay, it did not use the blinker in that merge, it just did it. And now it's safely going to get on the interstate here. That was kind of harrowing. It did it, but without the right blinkers to do it correctly and safely. I was trying to look around me as quickly as I could to ensure that it had enough space to do it. And it did. I probably earned a few swears though. All right, here's another merge, and now it's using the blinker. It didn't do that on the way here. So that's what I wished it had done last time, is using that merge. Now here we are at the end of the merge, and it didn't jump over like sometimes it does when that lane gets wider. All right, we're coming up on the exit from the interstate. Navigate on autopilot. Highway mode is still engaged. At some point up here, it will transition back to city streets, and you'll see the FSD visualization come up, and it'll take the full screen again. Usually, it's just about right up here when. There we go. It's up right off the highway, and it usually makes a pretty jerky lane adjustment here. As this lane opens up, it dives into it. And it didn't do it that time. It stayed in this lane. It needs to get over. It did cross a white line with a blinker. That was an interesting choice. It did use the blinker at least. All right, and now we've got a yield merge into traffic with a lead car. It's got about 100 yards of merge lane here before it has to get over, and it's clear. It should be using a blinker right now. It's not. It's just going to own the lane like it owns it. So it just assumed the lane was available. Okay, I'm coming up on this double green light intersection, and occasionally on these double greens where I can see both of them at once, we're going 58 right now. It just slowed down to 50. The speed limit just dialed down. Sometimes I get a break when it transitions from one to the next one. And that time it did fine. It proceeded. It didn't slow down too much. It's almost like it passes one light, sees the next one, and occasionally just slows down a little bit to buy itself some time, even though they were green the whole time. Alright, here's another good intersection to take some looks at some visualizations, because there's a lot of medians in this one, and it's got a double turn lane across, so you're going to see some cars coming across that should be turning in here, and they're not actually visualized until they almost get out in front of the car. Even though there's a double turn lane with several cars coming out, the visualization pops up just about when they're out front. Over to the right, large median with two little pink islands that are visualized. This bike lane here is an interesting situation, and I think yesterday that bike lane prevented the car from getting into the lane it needed to. I wonder if there's any additional logic around crossing a bike lane that would be any different than crossing a white line like it has a couple times today. Because as these bike lanes approach, there's a little dashed line. Here's another one, a very short little dashed white line where you can get over, and if you wait too long, now there's a solid line that yesterday it would not cross. I'm going to have to continue to watch the bike lanes that are mapped here and how it treats them. All right, it's got a blinker. It just phantom blinked there. It does not need to change lanes here. That's the first phantom blinker I've seen today, but it looks like it wants to change lanes. Well, it didn't end up doing it, but the way I thought it was going to change lanes is because the visualization moved over, which it does a lot of times when it's changing lanes. All right, this car ahead of me has got his blinker on and is slowing down. Okay, and now it can accelerate a little bit more is what I would want, but I'm going to let it do its own thing. All right. I don't have any problem with that. Yeah, I mean, after a car turns off of a highway, a human likes to kind of accelerate it, so if there was somebody approaching from behind that perhaps didn't see you or stopped, you know, you're minimizing that risk. But the Tesla right now is kind of using a nice gentle acceleration after a turn. Okay, one more turn to go. This is a scenario where I'm turning off of a highway where the speed limit is 50. There is a 45-mile-an-hour sign here. I do have some traffic behind me, and a human doesn't like to slow down too much. Now it's decelerating without a turn signal on, which is kind of a no-no in my mind also, but it's using this right lane to slow all the way down. Now there's I'm going 25, 30. I mean, it is my lane, but I never slow to 15 on a 50-mile-an-hour highway to make that turn. It was safe, it was legal, but any of us that have ever done that ourselves, it was a little bit slow. All right, that's the drive for today. Lane changes, on ramps, off ramps, lots of good stuff. Have a great day.